Hey guys, my name is Marco Traeger, and I originally didn't want to make this video because I kind of think too many people are posting their takes online right now. Everything's kind of already been said, but at the same time, I do think my side of the argument has been slightly underrepresented, and I also like to think I'm not a complete idiot and have few valid points to make. So I'm just gonna do that because why not? So my general take is I think cubing is pretty obviously a sport, and I think most people only disagree due to either semantics or stubbornness. And I don't mean either of those in a hostile sense. I think both are reasonable errors to make, but some I used to make myself. I didn't really like or think of cubing as a sport until the T-Ball vs. Ying cubing clash event. That event changed my entire philosophy and perspective. But regardless, to preface, I think that cubing is a sport. I support the removal of clock. I can get into that in a different video. I think it's semi-tangential to the points I want to make in this video. But I'm mostly making this video to respond to two videos I watched earlier today. Elijah Rain Phelps' video and Olivia Kleiner's video about why cubing isn't a sport and never will be, or a spectator sport. And I'm friends with both of them. Elijah's one of my closest cubing friends. This isn't an attack on either of them. They obviously are pushing for what they think is best in cubing, and also comes from a good place of heart. I'm just not convinced by their arguments, and I want to kindly push back against them. So don't think anything less of them. And if either you're watching this, it's not an attack. I'm chill with everyone, but I'll be kind. Don't worry. But my guiding premise is that I think every long-term goal for cubing, and I think every achievement in cubing, has been dependent on the existence of spectators in the first place. Or maybe not every, but almost every. So I think I'm going to also address point by point, what was said by the people in those videos, because I think that's fair to them, and I think it also gives me a place to provide my counter argument. And if you think I'm straw manning or anything, call me out, try to be honest with me, whatever. The point one Elijah made was that cubing is not a sport because the biggest demographic is cubers. In other words, no one outside of cubing is watching cubing. Olivia made a similar point, instead of we're catering to an imaginary group of people, the spectators who don't actually exist. And to an extent, no does majority cubers. No one's denying that. It's obviously majority cubers, people related to them. But that also doesn't matter. The point is that they could or will exist. The point is to grow in that direction. Imagine this argument being made in the 90s, saying no one watches esports. Well, of course they didn't. The audience hadn't been cultivated yet. The sport of esports had to build the spectator community, build the audience, build their organizational fabric. Just because spectators don't currently exist doesn't mean they never will. That's historically false. We aren't at the end of history. Cubing has an entire future ahead. But also, I also just don't think I think you guys are neglecting a real audience out there. I'll mention a few people in my life. This past fall, a documentary was made about me and my cubing by this girl named Soph. The documentary is posted on YouTube now. It's called One Turn Away. This was a girl who lived a few blocks away from me in the city. She didn't know me, and we also go to the same school, and we didn't really know that at first either. But she was a non-cuber who followed cubing in her free time and found out that I was pretty high in the rankings, in the New York rankings, and she wanted to make a documentary about New York cubers. So she reached out to me on Instagram, and we became tight and all, but she got into cubing as a non-cuber just through following it online. She watched the World's Finals typing in non-cuber live. And I also have this one friend at school, Eliana. She's always sending me cubing vids on her feed and on her reels, and she's not a cuber, but because of me or just because of the algorithm, that's something that interests her, and she watches that. I have another friend, Rishabh, at school. When he found out I cubed, he asked me if I knew Soup Timmy. He asked me if I knew Felix from J-Perm. Non-cuber, just knows about this from being online. And I think another really interesting story is last semester I had a roommate named Jeffrey. I wasn't that close to him, a good guy and all, but he was from China and we had a big language barrier, so we never really got that close. But when he found out I was a Cuber, he started asking me like crazy questions. He's like, "Oh, do you use Gan or Moyu? Do you know Yihang? Do you know Zhuangyi?" And this guy was a non-Cuber. I asked him how he knows about it, and he was telling me that like in China, at least in his city, which was, I think it was from Chengdu. So I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but Chengdu. But he was telling me that like people just know cubing there. People follow it. Like he showed me like, I don't know what it's called. What's a Chinese YouTube? Billy? I think that's what it's called. But he showed me this like game show they have there, and it was like a live audience of like hundreds of people. It was like someone doing like a mini Guildford up there, and he was talking about like how people just know cubing there and people follow it, and that kind of blew my mind because this guy knew about cubing despite not being a cuber. But regardless, even beyond this, like think about how many people see cubing on their reels, how many clips have gone viral, how often cubing makes it on the news. The news covers like comps and clips for a reason, but Speedcubers was on Netflix for a reason. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at my points because my mind's scattered. But yeah, I think I made a point. Elijah also mentioned like real sports, which is what he called it, like basketball, baseball, soccer. Well, I think this is the semantics era I was referring to. Like, we are trying to take the sports crowd, which I think I'm part of, trying to take cubing more seriously on a level similar to esports. Chess, mahjong, bridge, cards, darts, so on and so forth. Like, those aren't athletic sports per se, but have a level of sportsman-like credibility. And all competitive hobbies are this way. And I don't really understand why the cubing community has such, like, an exceptionalism problem. Like, where we think nothing can ever change, and cubing is fundamentally and existentially different than every other hobby out there. I don't get why we have that assumption or conception about it. I think it screams ego. My hobby is so much more special than all the other hobbies, and I think it screams stubbornness. I'm not saying that applies to like individuals, but I think it's just the general trend, at least what it screams to me. But maybe I'm wrong and making that emotional judgment at the end, but I don't really get why we treat it as so different from everything else. And but I think like if you talk to non-cubers, for the most part, I think cubing is pretty cool. And if you teach it to them right, like what to look out for, the basics of it, like they're going to be slightly into it. I think maybe some cubers don't talk to enough people outside of cubing to understand like there is a spectator potential there. Like, I don't know, I have more case studies I'll get into later in this video because I'm kind of rambling at this point. But the point too was that the cubing should be for cubers. Well, no duh, but competitors get advantages from spectators, and I'll get more into that later. And the point 3 was that cubing's a hobby, cubing will never be a sport, and Elijah said he's sick of the WCA thinking they're a shit. Speedcubing's not that big and that's okay. Well, I don't think they think they're the shit, so to speak. I think they're responding to genuine trends in China and Southeast Asia. China has several competing organizations to WCA. The Philippines has I think it's called the Mind Sports Organization now, which did a unofficial comp where a weight sport record happened. Like, cubing is being treated like a sport there. They have an insane amount of people doing it now outside of WCA. They're not thinking they're a thing. They're responding to an actual trend, right? And they're adapting the changes they're adapting themselves to growing changes in global demand and approach. And it very clearly is that big in China. And it clearly is that big here in the sense that our world records get views. Maybe our live streams don't yet, but people know what Rubik's Cube is. People know of cubing. If you tell someone you're a cuber, if the Gen Z, the odds of them knowing what a cuber is aren't that low. And I don't know, people, our hobby has subscribers, we have viewers, we have a lot of people doing it. I have a friend who's coming, non-cuber by the way, I have a friend who's coming to NAC with me in 2 days now, and she does Sudoku competitively. We're much bigger than them. We're a much bigger hobby than them. And she finds cubing a good spectator sport, hence why she's flying out from California to hang out with me. But anyway, and I think another point that was made was that this new sportsman-like trend takes away from the experience. I don't know, you get nerves. It should be that community. Again, I don't get why we're treating cubing like it's so different from everything else. Both can exist together on different levels. Also, like, low-key skill issue if you're getting nervous about cameras filming you or live streams or whatever. Like, you're competing in something, you're trying to be good at it. That's part of it. Also, like, cubing's late in the game. I strongly disagree. It isn't. It's growing so quickly and changing so quickly. In sports, there's GOATs in sports, but because they have unbeatable records, but it doesn't mean the sport ends. Like, other people try to get as close as possible. Other people get into it for their own personal reasons. People get into it for PRs. Cubing's not going to be dead in 15 years. It'll adapt. It'll change. Like, our competitor rate and the speed at which we're improving across all events is so insane. I strongly disagree that cubing will be dead in 15 years. Also, I think the point of, I'm going back, I think the point that cubing isn't big is kind of like a weird, like, Western perspective in a sense. Maybe that's too woke, but I mean, I'm not glazing Chinese cubing. But I do think there are lessons to be learned. But, like, in China, it definitely is that big. It's a recognized sport. It's like it's a mandated school subject in, like, one city or one province there or something. It was a smaller one, albeit, but that was also a thing. Like, you can find cubes in, like, stores or, like, have, like, designated cube stores in malls. Like, it's pretty damn big. Maybe not here, but we're not everything. And we probably will be that eventually. That seems to be a trend we're going in. And I don't think that's all that bad of a thing. And then, going to Olivia's video, her first point was, like, other events aren't spectator friendly. Well, I think other events are spectator friendly by virtue of them having a simple equation of colors being matched. That's an easier pattern to recognize by nature for being similar to all other ones. But also, like, I think you can make things more spectator friendly as our commentary and technological strength grows. Like, a good commentator can have, like, what to look for, what good patterns are. They can get what people will get based on X factor, like their competing history, their, I don't know, whatever scrambles. People got good times in the scramble already. Like, and I think there's so many clues in inspection and based on competitor history that can lead to a great spectator experience in quite literally every WCA event. I mean, lots of different discussion. Maybe just some room for spectator stuff there. I'm open to that. I still think it should be removed, but that's all tangential. I'm not trying to get into that right now. Another point is that WCA didn't take community feedback. I don't think that's necessarily true. Of course, you can't prove that either way, but it was never advertised as, like, a democratic vote. They just wanted it as, like, community feedback. Feedback can help influence the decision without exactly aligning with the same final decision. I think that's a risky claim to make if you can't substantiate it. Another point that was made is that it's not interesting to watch. Well, I think cubing is as interesting or uninteresting as you make it. A good commentator can make things pretty damn interesting, especially if you highlight, like, a good storyline, good lore, changes in methodology. There's so many variables that can do this. Like, I got my roommates, I've been watching Monkey League lately, I'm getting really into it. I got my roommate into it by just explaining to him the different styles in 3x3 solvers. Like, as cringe as the term is, like, the blue collar solving style versus, like, the just one style, or, like, CN from, I think Yufeng's the CN one. Oh, my light turned off. Versus, like, I don't know, you have a point. Like, there's so many different variables that, like, tell a story, and that you can capture that. Like, I think, like, Luke Rice was a good example of this. There's a reason why everyone loves Luke, and there's a reason why, like, there's always eyes on him, like, on, like, our cubing content online. It's because there's a story around him. He's this kid that tried really hard, tried to, like, be the disciplined cuber, and he did it in Act 24, and he's also had fails, but that makes for a good story, and I think that's beautiful, and I think, like, that's the direction cubing should try to go in, you know? But cubing's as interesting and uninteresting as you want it to be. And, like, I've watched streams before of games I don't know or don't get, and they aren't boring because the commentators get lit, they explain what to look out for, they explain, like, what I should know, what's going on, and, like, that could easily happen in cubing. But also, I don't think, like, saying cubing is not interesting to watch, I don't think that's an argument. That's, like, a prediction. and prediction requires evidence. History is full of activities like you thought you couldn't watch. I feel like esports is one, poker is one, like climbing maybe. I don't know, but people don't watch things because they understand everything. They understand because they watch. It's the other way around. Like a good commentator teaches viewers what matters. They teach viewers how to understand. Like I don't watch real sports, but I don't think the NBA is interesting because everyone already knows basketball. Millions have learned it through watching it. I mean, I learned it as like a native Manhattan dweller. I learned it like in the past like week or two because I was forced to like watch a game a little, right? Like, and yeah, but and then Olivia says like how cubing like how spectators help cubing because they don't pay for comps. Well, I think it's a domino effect. Like cubers eventually, like I think it's a domino effect. Like increased spectatorship means wider audience, wider influence, which leads to better marketing, which leads to more resources, which leads to competitor advantages. Like organizers get sponsors due to spectators existing. Because where does that money come from, right? Companies sponsor competitors because of spectators. They have an audience out there, right? Majors, same reason. Why does Rubik's want to sponsor our comps? Why did venues improve? So on and so forth. I think this is the starting point of all cubing. And I think one of my guiding philosophies is I think we should promote spectatorship as much as possible in cubing. I think that's like should be our guiding philosophy. But to end the equation and comp payments, competitors only want that help cubing because they pay. I think that's fallacious. And I think more money in cubing, which will come from more spectatorship. Spectators become competitors. Like think about how many people became competitors through seeing a Felix clip online and wanting to do it. And that's how I got into it because of Guinness Book of World Records. And I looked it up on YouTube, thought it was cool, wanted to do it. Or people who got into cubing because of the Netflix documentary. Those are spectators who became cubers. It's a direct pipeline. But more money helps the average competitor because it means organizing more. There are several regions in the world which don't have resources to have comps. That's why I love the work of Von Bruckham so much, or Cubing Frontiers. I love to see cubing go to these new places. But it means better time organizing in new places, harder comps, more local comps. It means making majors higher quality, which benefits all the competitors. More benefits means more competitors, which means better quality, so on and so forth. It's a continual domino effect, right? And yeah, I think I'm starting to repeat myself a little. A point Livia made, which I really liked, is that that of 4 pads. And I agree. As someone that thinks we should prioritize spectatorship above all else, I think that means we need to fix a lot of integrity issues in WCA, a lot of cheating issues, so on and so forth. I think the order's a bit weird. I think it's weird that we did clock before everything else. I mean, there's some conspiracy behind it, but it's a bit odd. But whatever. I think the order's a bit weird. I think head-to-head before clock. I like head-to-head, but I still think it's a bit weird. But yeah, I mean, I agree with that point. There is other stuff that needs to get done, but that's, yeah, I don't think that's deflection. Yeah. So I think they were both good videos, with full of heart and passion. I just don't necessarily agree with the conclusion. Some other points I want to make is as a cuber, I think one of my philosophies is I value the long term over the short term. I think the effect on current cubers, this might sound a bit harsh, but it's kind of irrelevant. I believe the WCA will continue to grow many years in the future, and the number of cubers affected by changes we make now will infinitely be nothing compared to what happens in the future. And I think the long-term effects of the decision matter more than how we feel about it now. If we can we can't really prove it, but if it will in the long run help something. It's hard to calculate, I get it, but I do think sometimes we need to think about what this means in the long term of cubing, if we want cubing to continue to be the wonderful thing it is. I think another point I want to make is a lot of people, I want to dig this in, but people don't get why spectators matter so much. I think it's because, like, cubing is inherently social. Like, records matter because they're recognized by someone else. A spectator, a, like, viewer on Instagram or YouTube, Guinness, World Records. Like, there is an inherent social aspect to that. Like, World Championships only matter for the same reason, because it's social. You're recognized by a group of spectators, even if it's cubers. Nobody would care about records if there was no spectators. It would just be for yourself, which is noble and beautiful, but that's not realistic. That's not where we are. I don't want to pretend that's the atmosphere of cubing. There always has been a spectator aspect of it. And I think another thing, like, another point I want to stress before I finish is that cubing makes it to the news so often for a reason. And I think this is a symptom of untapped potential. Like, why does local news cover competitions? I've been interviewed at, like, 3 competitions. I mean, it's not many. Like, there's been news at other ones. Why did the speakers on Netflix become popular? Why do record clips get millions of views? Why do some of my friends are random YouTubers? Because there's untapped potential, untapped market there, which will be used to grow cubing in the future. To deny this is kind of insane to me, right? There's a reason why cubing keeps making it on these big stages. I mean, even if the WCA is not there yet, like, the idea of cubing, there's obviously a market for it, and it's obviously growing towards that direction. I think it's all the points I made. I mean, I like to think I expressed them pretty well. I like to think maybe I rambled a bit, maybe I repeated myself a bit, but it's something I care about, and I don't think my argument is that irrational. So yeah, hopefully you liked what I had to say. I don't really like making content, and here I am making content, so you know I'm actually passionate about it. But yeah, I'll see you all in the North American Championships. Peace.